Excellencies, let me begin by welcoming you all to the ASEAN-Canada 40th Anniversary Commemorative Summit, the first such meeting at the leaders' level. We are pleased that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau joins us in marking a special milestone in ASEAN-Canada dialogue relations during the 50th anniversary of ASEAN and Canada's 150th anniversary of Confederation. In the last 40 years, the ASEAN and Canada have explored common ground to, inter alia, address traditional and non-traditional security issues such as terrorism and human trafficking, to accelerate our economic cooperation, and to promote the rights of women, children, and migrant workers while broadening our people-to-people ties. We only need to look at the ASEAN Community Vision 2025 and its blueprints to see the alignment of ASEAN's core interests with those of Canada's. The people-centered, people-oriented agenda that leaves no one behind guides ASEAN-Canada engagements, including this summit. Today, our vision for our respective countries, our region, and the world finds expression in the broad directions that we, as leaders, set for the future of ASEAN-Canada relations. Without further ado, I therefore invite the Prime Minister of Canada, Minister Trudeau, to deliver his opening remarks. You have the floor, sir.
Esteemed co-chair, leaders of ASEAN, I'd like to start by thanking our Filipino host, President Duterte, for his invitation. The friendship between the Philippines and Canada, particularly through people-to-people ties, runs deep, but it is also a good example of the many friendships and connections we have with people around the table and countries around the table. It's my great privilege to join you today as we celebrate 50 years of ASEAN and 40 years of dialogue between ASEAN and Canada. This is the first time a Canadian Prime Minister has been given the opportunity to meet with you as a group, and I hope this marks the beginning of a closer, stronger partnership between us. The opportunities I've had over the past few days to connect with all of you has been wonderful and bodes extremely well for the future of relations between our countries. As a Pacific nation, Canada has long understood the importance of a close relationship with Southeast Asia. Partners in prosperity and in peace, Canada has sought to deepen and strengthen the ties that unite us in recent years for the benefit of all our citizens. We took an important step in that direction when we established a diplomatic presence in all 10 member states and appointed a permanent ambassador to ASEAN. We were also very proud to announce the first Canada-ASEAN Scholarship Program last August, an initiative that will provide more opportunities to students from your countries to study in Canada as early as next September. Our efforts to actively engage with the region demonstrate our commitment to a shared future, a future where families are thriving, businesses are innovating, and economies are growing. At a time when change is followed only by more change, international forums like ASEAN are more than just useful, they are vital. For the past 50 years, ASEAN has been instrumental to the liberalization of trade and the establishment of fair, rules-based international systems. As unprecedented, dynamic growth is driving Southeast Asia's importance on the world stage, it is critical that we build this progress and that we expand this partnership. Canada is not only willing, but ready to be a key partner for the next 50 years. We are ready to contribute to ASEAN's success in an increasingly globalized world by joining the East Asia Summit and the ASEAN Defense Minister Meeting Plus at the earliest opportunity. This would allow Canada to become a full and dynamic partner of ASEAN, a partner that can truly contribute to the organization and its mission. Let me highlight some of the reasons why. Our stance on free trade puts us in an ideal position to work with you to encourage growth that benefits everyone and that is sustainable. Done right, we believe that trade can create good, well-paying jobs for the middle class and those working hard to join it. They can help parents put food on the table and give their kids more opportunities to get ahead while still opening new markets for business. Ultimately, Canada believes that the benefits of growth must be felt by everyone, not just the wealthiest citizens. And since the beginning of my mandate, my government has been proud to have signed trade agreements that are not only good for business, but that are in line with our values. Agreements that contain provisions on things like labor protection, environmental stewardship, and gender equality. Canada believes that a strengthened partnership will help us chart a path towards an economic future that is more prosperous, more equal, and more stable for generations to come, which is why we are so pleased that we have together begun discussions on Canada-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. And while trade is a natural area of mutual interest, it's only one way in which ASEAN members and Canada can benefit from a closer relationship. As leaders, we want similar things. We want our people to be safe, our air to be clean, and our communities to be strong. I'm proud to say that Canada has already taken concrete steps towards achieving those goals. In light of events in Myanmar's Rakhine State, I've named a special envoy to the region. I've asked him to engage in diplomatic efforts and identify ways in which Canada can support the response to the situation and the plight of the Muslim minority. Canada will continue to support ASEAN's humanitarian and political efforts to find a sustainable and just solution to the ongoing crisis, and we will also continue to work with the governments of Myanmar and Bangladesh to allow for the safe return of displaced peoples. During my excellent discussions with the State Councillor, we discussed the importance of the recommendations put forth on the final report of the Advisory Commission on the Rakhine State, which will help chart the path forward towards peaceful resolution of the conflict, and we've discussed how Canada can help achieve this goal. You see, in times of crisis, Canadians are prepared to lend a helping hand to their neighbours and their friends. It's not only what we do, it's who we are. As tensions in North Korea continue to escalate, Canada stands united with the Asian continent and the world in our demand that North Korea abandons its nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs. North Korea must immediately cease all activities that go against its international obligations and the United Nations Security Council resolutions. As a member of a wide range of multilateral organizations, we are uniquely positioned to amplify that message before international audiences and our partners. In a few days, I look forward to welcoming representatives from many of your countries alongside other UN partners to discuss how we can further contribute to United Nations peacekeeping missions around the world. And on that note, Canada hopes to exert its influence on the world stage to defend issues of mutual interest to ASEAN members and partners. The issues that matter to you matter to us. During our meeting today, we will be discussing the accomplishments and potential of a renewed partnership with ASEAN and some of the new and exciting ways in which Canada can support this community, including by joining EAS and the ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting Plus. Now, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to briefly repeat some of this in French for the folks back home. Étant membre de plusieurs organisations multilatérales, le Canada est particulièrement bien placé pour porter ce message devant des auditoires internationaux et nos partenaires. Dans quelques jours, j'aurai le plaisir d'accueillir des représentants de plusieurs des pays présents ici, ainsi que d'autres partenaires des Nations Unies, pour discuter des différentes façons de contribuer encore davantage aux missions de maintien de la paix qui se déroulent à travers le monde. Pendant notre rencontre aujourd'hui, nous allons discuter des réalisations de l'ANAS, des possibilités qu'offre le renouvellement de notre partenariat et des nouveaux moyens prometteurs que le Canada a trouvés pour soutenir cette communauté, notamment sa participation au sommet de l'Asie de l'Est et à la réunion élargie des ministres de la Défense de l'ANAS. I hope you will join me today in a frank and open discussion about the role that both Canada and ASEAN play in the global economy. I look forward to sharing my thoughts and ideas with you, and I encourage you to do the same. I want to know where you think Canada can make a positive contribution to your organization and through you to the world. Once again, thank you very much for including me today, and I look forward to an excellent meeting.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your gracious words. It is said that there is always a time for everything under the sun. And I am addressing it to the media. Time to join and a time to not join. Can we have the room so that we can discuss some matters of importance? Excellencies, in the Philippines' capacity as country coordinator for ASEAN-Canada dialogue relations, please allow me to honor of delivering the first country statement on the ASEAN side. Today's geographical and global economic uncertainties alongside climate change and the non-traditional security threats pose unmistakable risk to our region's sustained growth momentum, leading to what we hope would be the ASEAN century. 50 years ago, a distinct set of challenges within and outside of our region united ASEAN's founding fathers in steering fundamentally diverse nations towards an association that would later embrace regionalism and multilateralism. ASEAN's long-standing partnership with Canada manifests our collective position as an outward-looking region aspiring for lasting peace, security, and stability, sustained economic growth, and shared prosperity and social progress. We thank Canada, a like-minded partner, for assisting ASEAN's communities building and integrating across our political, security, economic, and social pillars. We acknowledge Canada's important contributions to confidence-building measures and preventive diplomacy, as well as non-proliferation and disarmament under the ASEAN Regional Forum. We are pleased with the progress in the implementation of the ASEAN-Canada Joint Declaration on Trade and Investment, especially the preliminary report on the joint feasibility study for an ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement, and the dialogue of the ASEAN-Canada Trade Policy Dialogue as a platform to grow trade and investment between us. We look forward to our economic officials exploring a potential ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement based on the outcome of related comprehensive feasibility study commissioned by both sides. We urge Canada to bring its expertise to bear on concrete initiatives to implement the master plan of ASEAN connectivity by 2025. I would like to thank Prime Minister Tudu for championing the protection and welfare of migrant workers. The recently signed ASEAN consensus on the protection and promotion of the rights of migrant workers adds space for further ASEAN-Canada cooperation in this area. We applaud the ASEAN-Canada Scholarship and Educational Exchange for Development, otherwise known as SEED, announced this year by Canada for students and mid-career professionals to access quality education. The program will plant more seeds to people-to-people connectivity on both sides of the Pacific, on top of the significant number of visible minorities in Canada from ASEAN member states who drive our relations forward. Lastly, on behalf of the over 100 million Filipinos, I would like to put across a heartfelt message concerning ASEAN-Canada cooperation to counter illicit drug trafficking. It is my wish that our collaboration for a drug-free ASEAN leverages upon good practices applicable to various national settings while taking into account the transnational nature of the problem. The Philippines welcomes cooperation accompanied with the valued principle of mutual respect for sovereignty and non-interference in the internal affairs of states. The success of our joint endeavors could be assisted by a deeper understanding of the imperatives of governance based on facts and local conditions shaping national priority. Thank you, and now I open the floor to statements for the ASEAN leaders. We would, but having said that, the incoming chair is the state of Singapore, and we would like to hear this one.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Let me just, on behalf of my Prime Minister, welcome Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to Manila. This is your first time attending an ASEAN summit, particularly timing, as we celebrate 4 decades of ASEAN-China relations. We appreciate your support and personal attention to ASEAN, a region you have deep personal connection with. As most of you will already know, William Farquhar, Singapore's first British resident and commandant in 1819, was in fact the 5th great-grandfather of our Prime Minister's Trudeau. My ASEAN colleagues will also no doubt agree that ASEAN-Canada relations has expanded in recent years. In 2016, Canada appointed its first resident ambassador to ASEAN. Foreign Minister Freeland has recently also announced a new scholarship program for students from ASEAN member states to study in Canada. This will strengthen our people-to-people ties. In an increasingly complex geopolitical environment, it's important that like-minded partners stand and work together, especially on areas of common interest. Let me just focus on a few of these areas on our long-standing relations, how it can continue to grow. First, ASEAN and Canada should work together to lend voices against a global trend of isolationism and protectionism. Economics cooperation should be a key pillar of ASEAN-Canada relations. Progress has been made. We are already conducting a feasibility study for an ASEAN-Canada free trade agreement, and we look forward to making further progress. Second, ASEAN and Canada should work together to support a rule-based international order that promotes peace and stability. Some common values like respect for the rule of law are essential for sustained peace and stability in our region. Only if we continue to promote such common values and secure peace and stability can we capitalize on opportunities and expand our relationship. As incoming ASEAN chair, Singapore looks forward to Canada's continued support of ASEAN. Our key priorities in 2018 are to enhance ASEAN's resilience and innovation, deepen economic integration, and maintain ASEAN's centrality and unity in the evolving regional architecture. We hope that Canada will continue to deepen its engagement of ASEAN, including by active participation in the ASEAN-Canada process and the ASEAN Regional Forum. There is much more we can do together for the mutual benefit of our people, and we look forward to strengthening our partnership in the pursuit of greater economic growth and sustained regional peace and stability. Thank you very much, Chair.
We'd like to thank Singapore for its statement. Is there any other intervention? Yes, Prime Minister Najib of Malaysia.
Thank you, President Duterte, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Excellencies. Before I begin, let me congratulate President Duterte, because you're always thinking of novel and creative ways to dismiss the press. So I'm quite amused by the way you approached it. Something for me to learn. Malaysia welcomes the various steps taken by Canada to enhance economic relations with ASEAN. ASEAN views these steps as a clear manifestation of the strong commitment of the Canadian government to strengthen economic ties and creating many more avenues for especially for our entrepreneurs, to connect. What Malaysia would like to highlight is the potential of our SME sector, which accounts for 96%, 95.5% to be precise, of total economic establishments in ASEAN member states. This number is huge, and creates more than accounts more than 70% of total employment. The formation of the ASEAN Economic Community, with a single market of 630 million people, coupled with ASEAN's outward-looking and business-friendly policies, opens new opportunities for Canadian companies, as well as small and medium business owners in ASEAN countries. ASEAN's growing youth population and a rising middle class also offers Canadian companies a market which is almost equal to the EU or North America. It is this growing segment that we need to pour our resources and efforts into. The success of our economic partnership, if we craft it strategically, would touch and improve the lives of many peoples in this region. At the same time, ASEAN would also like to welcome Canadian investment to other niche sectors such as aerospace, agri-food, automotive, clean technology, ICT, as well as oil and gas. On a related note, we welcome the announcement by the Canadian government of the 10 million Canadian dollar scholarship program open to all ASEAN member states. We'd like to thank you for it.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Any other intervention? Yes, from Vietnam.
Prime Minister, Mr. Chair, Prime Minister Trudeau, dear ASEAN colleagues, I join ASEAN leaders in welcoming Prime Minister Trudeau to this important summit. ASEAN and Vietnam welcome Canada's foreign policy of strengthened engagement with the Asia-Pacific and the recent positive developments in ASEAN-Canada relations. I commend Prime Minister Trudeau's goodwill in promoting further investment from Canada into ASEAN countries, and especially in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, and to further unleash the potential of ASEAN-Canada cooperation in the time to come. I wish to share with you some of my thoughts. First, we should continue to give priority to intensifying economic, trade, and investment cooperation, and building on the recently launched trade policy dialogue between the two sides. The governments of ASEAN countries and Canada should give incentives to and create an enabling environment for the business and investment communities to effectively tap into the potential of ASEAN and Canadian markets. We look forward to the support of Canada in the development and capacity building for MSMEs in ASEAN, especially enhancing their access to markets, capital, and technology. Second, we should promote cooperation in enhancing connectivity, and it should be a priority. We hope to see Canada's participation and support for the implementation of the ASEAN Master Plan on Connectivity 2025. The two sides need to strongly advance people-to-people connectivity through education, training, people-to-people exchange, creating long-term foundation for ASEAN-Canada connectivity. And we also welcome the announcement of Canada in August 2017 of a new scholarship program for ASEAN countries valued at 10 million Canadian dollars. And so far, more than 1 million Canadians of Southeast Asian heritage are making essential contributions to the development of Canada. And third, we appreciate the assistance of Canada in the past process of ASEAN community building and wish to see your continued support for ASEAN in realization of the ASEAN community vision. And we hope that Canada will work together with us to address common challenges, including climate change, terrorism, extremist violence, cybersecurity, maritime security, so on and so forth. And thank you very much.
Thank you. And we recognize Cambodia. You have the floor, sir.
Madam Martin, Madam Justin Trudeau, Your Andre
of Canada, Your Majesty, at the outset I would like to thank for the report of Excellency Duterte, for the detailed report on the remarkable progress of ASEAN-Canada relations for the past 40 years, and also congratulate the 40 years commemorative of ASEAN-Canada relations, and congratulate the 40 years anniversary of the ASEAN-Canada dialogue relation. I take this opportunity to further highlight a number of points which are indeed important for Cambodia and ASEAN as follows. First, I highly appreciate the efforts of the ASEAN and Canada Working Group as well as relevant stakeholders in working together and realizing a term of reference for the feasibility study on ASEAN-Canada's free trade agreement. Due to the significance of this work for ASEAN as well as Cambodia, I would like to request both sides to place priority on this work and push it forward as soon as possible to the negotiation of ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement. Second, I also like to welcome Canada's new important scholarship programs of the Educational Exchange Programs for Development called VIểT project, with a total budget of 10 million Canadian dollars for offering trainings to youth and mid-career professionals, especially women from Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam. Their scholarship program is indeed important, as youth and women have been playing significant roles in economic activities and development endeavors, for which we should strongly promote. Moreover, I would like to encourage Canada to provide short and long-term scholarships along with the exchange programs for students from ASEAN to study in Canada. Third, having seen the necessity related to capacity building for public administration officials, I would like to suggest Canada consider the possibility of increasing trainings to diplomatic officials and officials in other areas of ASEAN in order to strengthen the expertise in order to get prepared for the future. Fourth, I would like to also request Canada to continue providing technical assistance to ASEAN, particularly to Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar, to promote the implementation of innovation projects and economic growth, as well as to consider providing technical assistance and financing to the ASEAN Regional Mine Action Center, ARMAC, to accelerate development, especially mitigate people's vulnerability to mine in the whole ASEAN. As Excellency Prime Minister just mentioned, the meeting in Canada related to the Defense Minister on the promoting of peacekeeping Minister of Cambodia is going there, and I hope this will provide important result for our participation in the peacekeeping mission. As yesterday, I raised the issue with Excellency Secretary General of the United Nations. In other words, Canada also involved with Cambodia twice. In 1954, participating in the International Commission, including Canada, India, and Poland. And later on, in the framework of Paris Agreement for peace in Cambodia, Canada also played a very important role at the time. Thank you, Canada. Thank you, Excellency Prime Minister.
I would like to thank Cambodia for its intervention. Next is Thailand. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Your Majesty, Excellencies. This year marks a very special year for ASEAN and Canada. I would like to extend my congratulations on the 40th anniversary of ASEAN-Canada dialogue relations, the 150th anniversary of the Confederation, and the 50th anniversary of the founding of ASEAN. I'd like to commend Prime Minister Trudeau's good intention in underlining the importance of this region, as can be seen from the appointment of the first Canadian ambassador ambassador to ASEAN last year, as well as the activities commemorating ASEAN-Canada dialogue relations. ASEAN and Canada should expedite cooperation to cope with global change, as well as promote sustainable development goals with tangible outcomes. As climate change is an important issue and one of the important goals of the SDGs, ASEAN and Canada should work closely to build green growth by developing environmental friendly technologies, which will help to achieve goals 9, 13, 14, and 15 of the SDGs. I expect that ASEAN and Canada will expand our cooperation in this area. Moreover, building a people-centered ASEAN community is key to success in promoting sustainable development in ASEAN. Promoting women empowerment, especially in the economic field, aiming at making women a driving force for the economy and sustainable development, will help ASEAN to achieve the ASEAN Community Vision 2025 and Goal 5 of the SDGs. This is also in line with Canada's interest in promotion and protection of women's and children's rights. ASEAN leaders adopted the action agenda on mainstreaming women economic empowerment in ASEAN to raise awareness on the promotion of women's economic empowerment, which will lay the foundation for further development on this agenda. ASEAN welcomes Canada's support for ASEAN-centered regional architecture, and we are of the view that Canada and ASEAN should jointly develop and promote regionalism and multilateralism based on international law and mutual interests. I'm pleased that ASEAN stands ready to launch exploratory discussions in order to consider the possibility to start negotiations on an ASEAN-Canada free trade agreement, which will enhance the ASEAN-Canada partnership. Lastly, I'd like to thank Canada for promoting people-to-people linkage and cultural connectivity through cooperation on education, as well as scholarships given to students from ASEAN member states. These will make the ASEAN community more capable in keeping up with key developments such as the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Some concerns that I have in the ASEAN community, ASEAN have already discussed with all stakeholders concerned, and we have come up with concrete measures, and we are willing to follow through with that concrete measures. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the State of Law for its intervention. Yes. Indonesia, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Excellency Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, welcome to this meeting. This year, ASEAN and Canada celebrates its 40 years anniversary, and we must use this 40-year celebration to strengthen our commitment to elevate ASEAN-Canada relations that is mutually beneficial. Partnership to increase open economy that is inclusive and mutually beneficial must be the spirit of ASEAN-Canada cooperation. We are all worried with the increase of protectionism, and what is more worrisome is that protectionism in the form of tariffs and non-tariff barriers are actually mostly applied by developed countries. ASEAN and Canada must send a message to the world that an open and inclusive economy will bring benefits for the people. And economic relations, trade relations, and investment relations are not zero-sum games. An economic relation can also be a win-win game. Thus, I fully support the establishment of an ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We'd like to thank Canada, President Trudeau, for the inspiring intervention. We now call on Lau PDR. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Again, I promise you to be brief. But, Chairman, but first allow me to convey our Prime Minister's apology for not being able to participate in this summit due to his prior engagement. Laissez-moi parler en français pour vous plaire, plutôt pour plaire à la population canadienne. Je crois qu'au nom de mon Premier ministre, je voudrais souhaiter la plus chaleureuse bienvenue à ce sommet. Monsieur le Premier ministre, vous êtes toujours la bienvenue, même au Laos. Mr. Chairman, the Lao PDR joined the meeting in wholeheartedly congratulating the historic 40th anniversary of ASEAN-Canada dialogue relations. We are gratified by the enhanced ASEAN-Canada bilateral relations over the past 4 decades. Today's commemorative summit indeed demonstrates that ASEAN-Canada cooperation will continue to prosper in the future. We all highly value the Canada announcement of 5-year, $10 million scholarship. We hope this will be implemented soon, but in this connection, we'd like to stress that the scholarship should be provided in the priority areas like rural development, infrastructure, environment, finance, health, science, technology, so on and so forth. Chairman, Canada and ASEAN can further cooperate on areas to help stimulate economic growth, including through Canada's support and investment in connectivity-related projects in ASEAN member states. Last but not least, a little bit about bilateral relations. Lao PDR attach great importance to the enhancement of the long-lasting and friendly relations with Canada for mutual benefits of our two peoples. And by the same token, we highly appreciate Canada's support through both bilateral and ASEAN-Canada cooperation programs, and particularly in the area of human resource development and unexplored clearance. And we look forward to Canada's continued support in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Terima kasih banyak, Pak.
You have to look for it. Yes, we recognize the state of Myanmar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, let me join my colleagues in welcoming Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the delegation of Canada. This year, which is the 40th anniversary of ASEAN-Canada dialogue, is also the 60th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between Myanmar and Canada. I would therefore like to take the opportunity to thank Canada for its continued support in development cooperation and humanitarian assistance in Myanmar. We welcome Canada's offer to support the implementation of the recommendations of the Dr. Kofi Annan Commission for Peace, Prosperity and Stability in the Rakhine State. We particularly appreciate Canada's encouragement and support in promoting women empowerment, trade promotion, citizen engagement, and the prosperity and well-being of the people throughout our country. And we must note the projects in northern Shan State and Kayin State to improve market opportunities for women and to encourage women entrepreneurs in Myanmar. We look forward to assuming the country coordinatorship of ASEAN-Canada dialogue relations in 2018, and we stand ready to work closely with our Canadian colleagues to strengthen our dialogue relations and explore new areas of cooperation for the benefit of all our peoples. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to thank Myanmar for its intervention. Any other? I have to be doubly sure. Several diplomatic pupa here. I fail to see that. Any other intervention? None? Then I would like to thank you for an educational intervention. And now I would call Prime Minister to make to respond and thereafter to deliver his closing remarks. In this juncture, I would be called on the Prime Minister to convey, and then after, the Chair will give its speech for closing the bilateral meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me this opportunity to engage with ASEAN in such a strong way. But as we all know in these summits, the official conversations we have around this table is only the half of it. It has been a joy for me to be able to spend time in direct conversation and discussion with all of you and your representatives as a continued approach on engaging even deeper and more strongly in the region and the world, which is a priority for Canada. As you know, unlike some other countries, we have redoubled our interest in multilateral exchanges. We believe deeply that multilateral fora are essential to creating not just a more peaceful world, but a world in which all of our citizens have opportunities to reach their potential and to benefit from the tremendous advances that we are surrounded by. From the opportunity that I've had at different fora to meet with you, whether it's at the Francophonie meetings or at the Commonwealth Heads of Government, whether it's through extended meetings around G7s or G20s, whether it's through APEC meetings, where it was a real pleasure for me to engage formally as Prime Minister with a number of you for the very first time, whether it's through the United Nations peacekeeping efforts that we've going to be hosting a significant meeting of in Vancouver in a few days, whether it's our approach on the UN Security Council, where we've got a campaign coming up. Canada is deeply, deeply invested in multilateral fora as a way of boosting opportunities. You know our priorities. Our priorities are around inclusive growth, which means a focus on empowering women, a focus on Indigenous issues, and I was very pleased to meet with the women's group focused on Indigenous success just yesterday here in the Philippines, but I know there's many more conversations to have. Another area in which we're very engaged is on climate change. At the G7 next year, which Canada will be hosting in my home province of Quebec, we're going to make a particular emphasis on oceans, and specifically on the challenge posed by plastics. This is something that I know is of deep import to all of us who share engagements with oceans and waters, and this is something, yet another example of a way that Canada looks to move forward. But if I can, I'd like to close on a personal note. I, as you may know, am from the east coast of Canada, from Quebec, but my grandparents on my mother's side both lived in Vancouver just about all their lives. My grandfather, unbeknownst to a number of you, you probably knew my father was in politics. My grandfather was also in politics. He was Minister of Fisheries and Oceans, and he lived in a home that overlooked the Pacific Ocean and had a particular attachment to the Pacific, and worked all his life to protect and promote a westward perspective for Canada out over the Pacific, and certainly passed that along to his grandson. My grandmother was actually directly descended, as our friends from Singapore pointed out, from a Malay woman who lived in Singapore. And a few generations later, their family came to strike out a future in Canada. That's my story. It's my connection to the ASEAN countries on a personal level, but it's also a story that has been replicated so many times throughout the Canadian population. We have deep ties to your region, and I am deeply privileged and honored to be able to share this dialogue, this discussion with you. I only hope we don't have to wait another 40 years before we connect again, because we have begun to build tremendously close relations that I am deeply committed to and very much look forward to continuing. And once again, I want to thank you all for including Canada in not just this meeting, but the very important discussions that we are having as a world and as a region about security, about trade, about the future of our people. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for your comprehensive and encouraging response. I will conclude this meeting by saying I would like to thank Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the leaders of ASEAN member states for contributing to our helpful discussion to move our partnership forward. I trust that your engagement today here to commemorate the 40th anniversary of ASEAN-Canada dialogue relations satisfied our expectations. Even as this historic commemorative summit and the Philippines-ASEAN chairmanship comes to a close, I hope we will continue to consider our systematic priorities as lasting pathways for the realization of the ASEAN Community Vision 2025 and for enhanced ASEAN-Canada relations in the years to come. And on that note, I adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.